Hello guys, and welcome to another episode of Optics Trade Debates. Today we'll be discussing the differences between Aimpoint H34 and S or micro red dot sights from Aimpoint. So the first question would be, what are the main differences between, as we can see, these micro red dots from Aimpoint and this really big looking HS34?
Well, first of all, I have to say, for those viewers that don't already know the entire product range of Aimpoint well, there are two different micro models. One is the H1 and H2. We are now discussing only about hunting models, not the T, the tactical ones. And there are four different models of the Hunter series. H30S, H30S and L, and H34S and L. The difference is that S and L, in both cases, either the H34 or the H30, the main difference between them is only in the length and due to the mounting purposes. There are no other differences. With micro, the H2 and H1, we have a great video about differences between them. Basically, the main difference are the flip-up covers. But the most common question we get is, what to take? Should I go with a micro or should I go with a Hunter series? The answer is not that simple, because it depends what kind of rifle you have, how you hunt, and for what kind of purpose you are buying the red dot. So if I go through the most obvious differences are that the small micro models are really small and really light, elegant. When you put it on the rifle, it's not so obvious that you have some kind of optics on them. And they work normally, they perform well. With the Hunter models, you almost have the same size of a red dot like a normal scope. I know even the scopes which are smaller than this red dot. So it's not something you will put on an elegant, light, small rifle, because it's a huge red dot. But it has its pluses. First of all, if you look at the diameter of the eyepiece of the Hunter, especially this H34 and the micro, you see that the surface of the H34 is much bigger, and that in reality means that you can move your head further away from the optical axis and you will still be able to use it, you will still be able to see the dot, and you will still be able to shoot. So we could say, if we would speak about rifle scopes, that the H34 has a much better eye box. So it's a lot less sensitive to the eye position. And that means in the chaotic situations, let's say on driven hunts, when you have to react quickly, when the adrenaline is rushing and so on, it is easier to use the H34, because immediately when you look behind it, you already have a red dot inside. The second difference is that on the highest settings of intensity for the illumination of the red dot, the dot is a little bit nicer in the Hunter models and the H34, and there is a little bit less of internal reflection, which you get with a micro H1 or H2. So from optical point of view, the H34 is much better, but normally it's bigger, it's bulkier, it's heavier, and it costs more. So the second big difference is normally mounting.
Yes.
With an H1, you have this standard platform of which all micros have in common, and you have a wide array of different mounting solutions where you can mount on any rifle you can imagine. The H1 you can even mount only on one base of any kind of mount. Let's say on Leopold quick release mount, you can only use one base if you wish. On traditional German claw mounts, which are very common in this part of Europe, Sul mount as we call them, yes, you can also use the H1 on only one attaching point. If you look at Blaser, there are many solutions where you can just mount them on this on front or the rear, yes, supporting parts. While with an H34 you have to use the full size mount like for a normal scope. This one, even with a 34mm rings, like almost identical, like some tactical heavy scopes.
So it's not possible to mount this H series red dot sights with only one ring.
No,
it has to be two rings.
It has to be two rings. It has to be mounted like a normal rifle scope.
Okay, if we get back a bit to the optical properties of this red dots, what are the dot sizes of this H?
In both cases you have an option either to choose 2 MOA or 4 MOA. 2 MOA covers about 6 centimeters on 100 meters, so it's more recommended for those users who do shoot even with a red dot on a little bit longer distances. I would say with an 2 MOA size of a dot and with H34, a good shooter can hit even on distances greater than 100 meters. And this is the same in both cases. With 4 MOA dots, it's more close range. Normally the dot is easier to see, it's bigger, but I would say it limits you to 70 meters, 80 meters. That's the maximum, because from that distance onwards it just covers too much of the target.
Okay, so if I were a hunter and I was hunting at a driven hunt or stalking perhaps, which red dot sight between those two, which one would you recommend for me?
If you're going on driven hunts and you usually stand and wait for the drive to come towards you, I would definitely say H34, because the optical advantage is noticeable. You are able to shoot nicer and easier, and the target acquisition is faster, because you see the image and you see the red dot faster with an H34, because it just has a bigger window which you look through. But if you go inside of a drive, if you go and you drive the animals with dogs and so on, if you go inside of bushes and anywhere in the snow and so on, then I would say the micro, because it's so much smaller, so much compactor, that it will definitely will not get damaged so quickly, and even if you bump it a little bit, it will sustain the bumps better than a big red dot sight like this. I would say also, if you are going in the drive with dogs and so on, the H2 is the real winner, because it has a flip-up cover, so you can always protect the lenses, and you can even shoot with a flip-up covers closed if it's really that necessary, and it has protected turrets against the bumps. With an H34, first of all, it's bigger, so the chance of hitting it somewhere in a bush or in a tree and so on, it's bigger, and it doesn't have the protected turrets. It's also a little bit clumsier, so you can damage it faster.
I can see the illumination system on this one is quite different than on this one. This one has a knob, and this one has more of a digital plus and minus.
Yeah, this one has a rotating knob, this one has a plus and minus 2 knobs, but basically it works the same. Both of them, you can change the battery in them in years. That means that the lifetime of the battery is measured in years, not in hours. And both of them instinctively work the same. So I would say that this is not such a big difference. What it is that with if you're using gloves somewhere where it's really cold, it is easier to push the button on the bigger one than to rotate this knob with the big gloves in cold weather, because this knob is quite stiff, while these buttons are quite easy, a little bit
also quite audible.
Yeah. But still not too much. I would say that it doesn't scare the animals.
Yes.
But you do feel and you do hear when you change the intensity level of the illumination.
Okay, thank you, Theodore. I think this is...
Thank you today.
Oh.
Yeah, if you have any additional questions, please use comments or send us an email. And normally, please subscribe.
Take care.